In this episode, Stefan Herzog draws a sharp line between the people building wellness because they believe in it and those simply extracting from the trend. We talk about why the industry needs more missionaries and fewer mercenaries, why not-for-profit may be the wrong frame, and why real wellness businesses need integrity, evidence, and revenue models that can actually last. Bienvenida y bienvenido a Wellness Talks. Conversaciones entre personas que saben que el bienestar, ese que todos anhelamos co-crear, depende de hacer negocios honestos y congruentes que integren todas las esferas del bienestar dentro del modelo de negocio mismo. Acompáñame en esta danza valiente para seguir diseñando el entorno empresarial que determinará el futuro del bienestar. He always seems calm. He runs several things at once, travels most of the year, answers emails faster than AI, and still he's calm, smiling, unhurried. And when he talks to me, he's really there. I sometimes wonder whether people see the same thing in me. I don't. I tell people Stefan Herzog is one of my mentors. We don't talk that often, but I've never had a single conversation with him that didn't leave me thinking about possibilities I hadn't seen before. That's rarer than it sounds. There's something he does that I almost never find in other people. When you're explaining something to him, he gets it fast, and he makes a small face and a sound that tells you he's already there, that you can skip ahead, that you don't have to walk him through the rest. But he does it not like a know-it-all person or like someone in a hurry. He does it because he actually gets it and because he can tell that you get it too. So he clears the ground for a deeper kind of conversation. In business, that's gold. In friendship, it's gold too. What I find hardest to explain is how someone who builds things at the scales that he does stays so calm. He spent his life moving big things, a decade at General Electric, years running Fernwood Fitness in Australia, and then building almost from nothing the structure behind IBLM and ABLM, the institutions that lay the groundwork for the global expansion of lifestyle medicine. He designed the training requirements, the exam bank, the first certification, the model that now certifies lifestyle medicine doctors across much of the world. And here's the part I like the most. That Australian gym, with its 100,000 members, was also, in his own words, a machine for selling people something that really wasn't very congruent. Paleo one week, keto the next, the Mediterranean diet after that, whatever came down the chute. The man who later built a movement around real health spent years selling the opposite. That's why I invited him to the Wellness Talk today. I want to talk to him about how to build a global wellness movement, how to repackage all ideas so that a culture takes them in again. I want to talk about leadership and the difference between the takers and the makers, the business principles and mindsets behind big missions, why the wellness industry is both good and a bad thing, and the personal habits that he has that quietly sustain a productive and a happy life. Today, lifestyle medicine is a huge thing and it keeps getting bigger. But for that to happen, minds like Stefan had to be put to work. I want to understand how so that everyone can build things like that too. Stefan, my friend, thank you so much for being here. I'm honored.
Thank you for having me.
What memories do you have about your career now that you are more than 20 years in building lifestyle medicine movement? And what did you learn in business that you knew you had to apply while building a non-for-profit at the beginning in the lifestyle medicine arena?
Well, interestingly enough, I didn't know. You know, you have certain jobs in life, you go through certain experiences, and you kind of just move on. And then when you arrive at a point and you look back, all of a sudden you realize, oh, the reason why I learned about, let's say, franchising in Australia is because when you build an IBLM, an international certification framework, it's like franchising it to AMEF, franchising it to Brazil, and so on. And you realize, oh, that's why when you get sent by General Electric to a finance for non-financial managers, right? Because I used to be in operations all my life. And you think, okay, now the whole finance chat, the finance talk is debunked. you all of a sudden realize, oh, now that I actually run an organization where financial management is really important, that's why I did what I did. And so it's kind of looking back, you think, oh, some people call it serendipitous, some people call it divine intervention, but there is something in the universe that kind of puts you in the place you meant to be, right?
Thank you, my friend. I think I must say you're always very humble, and I love that about you. That's a quality of great leaders. Um, and surely, at the beginning, you knew that to work with associations all over the world, that they were like being NGOs or non-for-profit organizations. Yet, we still had to think in a way that sustain long-term growth. And that's not evident in these kinds of associations, medical and health professional associations. So, how do you think about those things?
Well, so again, I don't mean offense to anyone, but I have found that not-for-profits is actually almost a misnomer. Because not-for-profits means that there is a fairy godmother somewhere, somebody who writes a check, right? And then you get that money, and then you go spend that money with good stewardship diligently. And then when the money runs out, everything comes to a grinding halt. So we actually like to think about not-for-profits. We call it a profit for purpose. We realized right off the bat that we need to build processes and revenue streams that allow us continuity, that allow us to build things on a regular basis without having to rely on some foundation, some benefactor to write a check so we could continue the work that we do, right? The other thing that we obviously realized is that, and again, no offense to anyone, but most not-for-profits are stacked with what I call well-meaning amateurs. People who were picked because they've accomplished something somewhere else and, oh, can you please warm a seat on our board? And then they come to the monthly board meeting and everybody kind of waxes lyrical about things, but there is no real skin in the game. There is no real investment of time, energy, and effort. And so it really pays to look for the people who have got the underlying desire to change things the way they are. And whenever you look at any organization anywhere, organizations always have a name, right? When you look at, start at the top. Amazon wouldn't exist without a Jeff Bezos, right? Tesla wouldn't exist without an Elon Musk, and so on. And the same in our much, 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 much smaller world. It's Víctor Saadia who puts AMEV on the map. It's insert the name who is responsible that Pakistan is having success, and so on, right? So it very much is working with the right people who have got that inner fire and conviction that this is the right thing to do.
Thank you. Lifestyle is not a new thing. Eating well, sleeping, managing stress, relationships. And yet, in the global chronic disease epidemic that we have, it feels sometimes that we are talking about new things, like we would never like they were new. When you enter the lifestyle medicine movement, and you knew you had to change culture, not only change health professional mindsets and health professional clinical practices, but mindset in general and culture in general. How do you approach something like that?
Well, so interestingly enough, I used to think that I was cursed, that I had a mother who made me eat vegetables and made me eat berries, and all my friends got to eat all the nice things in life, right? And I always wondered, why in God's green earth am I, do I have parents who make me do this? And then you grow, become a young adult, you make all your own decisions, and then you obviously go completely overboard with all the unhealthy stuff. And so I think every human being goes through that journey of being, we all kind of know what to do. We simply don't do what we know. And you read in my intro, I worked for Australia's largest chain of fitness centers, and what a rubbish we used to tell people in terms of health. it's embarrassing because we would simply take what the latest social media influencer posted, and that became our new template to go and tell our members that that was the latest and greatest. And so as human beings, we all look for the shortcut. Right now, social media is absolutely full of health hacks, how to live longer, how to do this, but they're always shortcuts. And we all are old enough to know there are no shortcuts in life, right? And doing the right thing to your body, to your health, actually takes work, it takes commitment. And it doesn't mean we have to be ideological about it or bloody minded about it, but there is principles that simply are truisms that go all the way through. And I think particularly in wellness and in corporate wellness, there was a time when we started to become enlightened and we said, oh, we need to do corporate wellness. But that usually consisted of the company sponsoring your health assessment every year. So every year you would go to the corporate whatever contractor, and they would give you your physical, and then it would tell you you're overweight, you got pre-diabetes, and your cardiovascular system sucks, right? You say, thank you very much. You move away. Next year you come back and you go and sit for your health exam. And because you haven't changed your behavior, the results are the same or worse. And the incentive in wellness organizations used to be that you got paid or you got incentivized to attend the check. But it's like being paid to stand on the scale, but then nothing to do nothing about your weight. And so it is an evolution that every organization goes through. And then there is trends, right? We all know right now the whole lifestyle medicine is almost yesterday because today it's actually longevity.
I love this. Yes. So how to talk about life? How do you think the conversation about lifestyle or either longevity or all whatever trend will come down the way? What I love what you say is that lifestyle medicine is not a new house in the road of medicine or medical specialties, but a foundation. And this is so easy to understand, and yet I feel that there are commercial, political, cultural forces like not giving lifestyle its proper place. And I think basically, if we have here in the audience any health or wellness entrepreneur, there's no way any part of wellness is related to lifestyle. So, how do you think that will evolve the conversation?
So wellness in the current health framework, it's actually not a health framework, it's an illness framework, right? So we call it healthcare, but it's actually sick care. The whole acute care, so you have an accident, they can stitch you back together wonderfully, but the whole system is based on a reductionist model. So you go to the general practitioner, and because your hand hurts, and then you say, well, you need to go to the skeletal specialist. And then you go to the skeletal specialist and say, oh, you actually need to go to the arm specialist. And the arm specialist sends you to the hand specialist, and the hand specialist sends you to the finger specialist. And I obviously exaggerate, but that's kind of the model. So we're not talking about health. We're talking about an entire medical system, whether it's in the US, whether it's in Mexico, anywhere in the world. It's based on that model that we come out of acute care and that reductionist model. And so the idea that we have to go right back to the beginning and have a cross-function medical system where the restoration of health is the primary goal rather than the management of illness. That's the challenge. However, and unfortunately, all the economics speak against that. I always say there is no money in healthy people and there is no money in dead people. So the system is built to keep everybody in a permanent state of ill health. We don't want to heal you from your diabetes 2. We don't even tell you that diabetes 2 is reversible. We simply prescribe metformin and something. And for the rest of your life, you have to spend money on the medication and you have to spend money on your monthly checkups. A lot of health professionals go into the industry because they actually want to change and heal people. That their motivation is pure. And then by the time they come out of med school or nursing school or whatever, They know 40 different medications on how to treat diabetes too, but they haven't been told once that we're trying to shift that paradigm, and it's slowly working.
Yes. Um, yeah. We're in a difficult position, and
We
yet we
are.
we still have a lot to do. And I think that thinking outside the arena of medicine and health professions, and thinking about government, and thinking about culture, thinking about business, it's that it's very, we cannot move the health or illness conversation if we don't involve in those arenas. And I think that's
Agreed.
difficult to see sometimes, because we when we talk about health, we try to discuss it around the conversation around doctors and med schools and all those things. How are you building enough awareness and systems so that other industries are partaking the responsibility of re-signifying what health and lifestyle means?
So because it's all money driven, because we all have a commercial reality, we all want to get paid. We all want to have an environment where I can get paid for what I do. And doing lifestyle medicine 5, 10 years ago was a fruitless endeavor, right? Because you couldn't get paid for the treatments. You could get paid individually by a patient who was committed to their health, but that's would be 1 in 20, 1 in 30. And you can't make a clinic, a primary care thing, or a hospital work on that basis. So the key is to follow the money, right? And most money and most policy is made at the government level, right? So you're talking, I know from the US, when you talk about Veterans Affairs, or you talk the elderly, like people above 65 who then on government health care, that's where the big money is. But no government subscribes to lifestyle medicine unless we can show the evidence that it works. And that's why we introduced certification. We saw the growth of lifestyle medicine in the medical field explode the moment we introduced certification, because now that means we have defined the field. We know what the field is actually about. We know what it isn't. All the hacks and all the voodoo, we know what it is. And then we have the scientific evidence to support what we say it is. Then we have the educational resources to re-educate people. Even now we have resources to go and change entire med school curriculums so that when a physician or a nurse comes out of the pipeline, they have already been sensibilized to the principles of lifestyle medicine. But previously that wasn't there. And then the government starts to say, oh, because again, unkind comment about governments. Governments are there to cover their butts, right? Like no government can afford to finance a health hack that doesn't work. And then they found out, and then they end up with egg on their face. So they say, hey, we need a certification regimen that has been approved by the medical establishment as bona fide by the academic standards. It's all totally above board. And now that we have this, we can actually start to underwrite it, to subscribe it. And so in 2026, in the US at least, we're at the level where an entire state, the state of Indiana, just signed up to have 2,000 rural clinicians being educated and certified in lifestyle medicine, and the state of Indiana pays for that. That would have been unheard of 10 years ago because the science wasn't there, the certification regimen wasn't there, but they're not buying into the fad. They're buying into the evidence-based, academic, above-board framework. And that's, I think, the way we need to go. And back to the money. When we can demonstrate that the end user, the one who actually pays for something, benefits, we have liftoff. Let me make an example. When you have a health, most governments legislate that insurance companies can only use a certain percentage of their total premium volume for their profit. and for their admin. The percentages might change, but it's a percentage. So here is the issue. 10% of a million is much worse than 10% of a billion, right? So I'm actually interested in oversubscribing, overpaying over everything, because if my premium volume grows, then the percentage of what I can keep grows too. And therein lies the problem. So what we've decided is that we're going to start with people whose financial butt is on the line. Let's say self-insured employers. So if an employer has 100,000 employees, and rather than signing up with an insurance company, they take the risk themselves. Every dollar you save on metformin stays in the bottom line, right? And so rather than talking to the health officer or to the wellness officer or to the HR people, we talk to the CFO and we say, hey, Mr. CFO, if you put proper wellness programs into your organization, not just assessing people for their health, but then incentivizing them to change their behaviors so they can reverse their chronic disease, you benefit in your bottom line. And I think whatever we do, we have to have those 3 or 4 things that must be true. The patient must feel better. The bottom line must improve. The care provider must be more enthused about providing care because my patients are actually being healed rather than just they come and see me and getting worse and worse. And then the ones who do all of this, we obviously need to see the growth, and we need to have the revenue to continue to grow what we're doing.
I love it. Which other models, financial models, are using, for example, in clinics that adopt a lifestyle medicine first approach, and they're making money so that they can feel confident in shifting the usual way of attending patients?
So again, I can obviously speak with confidence about the US. I don't quite know how that applies to Mexico, but I think it's very similar. So the first one is obviously direct primary care. I say I don't want to go to the general physician who has sees me for 10 minutes, does the usual, like prescribe, and then he sends me to the nurse practitioner to be taken care of, right? So direct primary care means I pay you an amount for every visit or amount each month, and I can come and you take care of me. But it's out of my own pocket. It's not my health insurance. So that obviously needs a certain level of wealth. But there is quite a few people who've built successful direct primary care models. One of them is our board chair, Amy Meckley, who runs that model, right? The second one is that you, again, go back to who pays. And so Wayne Dysinger, my previous board chair, he started to specialize on the people above 65, which is obviously, when you look at all the stats, the people at older age obviously use most of the medical health expenditure, right? And because Medicare pays, so it's called Medicare Advantage, they pay, depending on the health risk assessment of the patient, they pay, let's say, $5,000 a month for patient X. That $5,000 is based on the health risk factors that person has, because usually there is a lot of comorbidities going on, right? Now you get that $5,000 as the service provider. If you can keep the person out of the ER, you can keep them out of hospital, you can keep them, make sure that their medication use reduces, and so you only spend $3,000 on their care for the month. The other $2,000 goes to your bottom line. And that's obviously the next model. And then from there, again, you have governments who say, hey, we might not see the direct impact, but all the extrapolations show that if you keep people healthier, that's cheaper than keeping people sick, right? It's kind of one of those no-brainers. It's like when you jump out of a plane, it's best if you had a parachute. We don't need randomized control trials to see whether jumping out of a plane with or without a parachute is a good thing, right? We all know that it's almost self-evident. And we kind of know that the self-evidence is also happening in lifestyle medicine. The key, though, is it must also come from the end user. We have more and more patients who say, no, I don't want to take another medication because then I have to have two more medications with all the side effects. Is there something you can you can prescribe me, something I can do? There is still probably 1 in 10. So again, 90% just give me the pill, give me the hack. But those 1 in 10, when you look at the population of a country, that's massive, right? It used to be 1 in 1,000, then it was 1 in 100. Now it's 1 in 10, and then we go 2 in 10. And so we slowly, slowly, slowly change the way things go.
I think that's a key point, the word slowly, because this chronic disease epidemic wasn't created in a single day. So reversing it won't be reversed in a single day. And I think that's something that obviously politicians must, well, no, we would love that they, do long-term plans. But what about companies? What about companies in the supplements arena, in the mental health, gyms, healthy food or nutrition? How about these companies building business models, also thinking in the long term, and how to take a hit in the short term because we will be, I don't know, probably losing money at first because it's a long-term shift so that people can see that investing in these products or services does really change our outcome later, right?
Yeah.
How do you see those models?
I don't have concrete evidence or advice, but obviously I've seen some things, right? And so the first thing that I always say, it's why are you doing, goes back to my initial statement. Why are you doing what you're doing? Because the integrity, the purity of your motives must be absolutely self-evident. Companies that just are in for the quick buck, I sell you a lie, a deliberate or inadvertent lie, and then I take your money. Those are the ones who lose the public confidence very, very quickly. So this is all about your personal integrity. Even in the lifestyle medicine movement per se, I always make the unkind comment that there is missionaries and there is mercenaries. The missionaries are doing things because it's the right thing to do. Irrespective of their own revenue, of their own glory, it's the right thing to do. And I truly, truly believe if you do the right thing long enough, you have a right for things to work out well for you, right? The mercenaries are usually in it for either the quick buck, my personal growth, my own career advancement. I just want to get in and out. And so I've seen many, many companies who obviously didn't have the financial breadth to go the long term. But again, all those who are building it for the right reasons take supplements. There's an absolute space for supplements, right? Because our agriculture these days, we don't let their land rest anymore. We have a depletion of the nutrients in the soil. And so even if you eat the best organic food, it's still no longer as chock full of the goodness than it used to be. And so supplements, they need to happen. But do you fill those little capsules with placebos? Do you fill them with proper stuff? Do you separate the voodoo from the snake oil? Right? So again, the idea of evidence-based versus evidence-informed, right? That you keep them separate because evidence-based is I can prove that this works, right? And that is materially works. Take again, supplements, bioavailability, the ingredients you put into it. Is it a fat supplement? Is it a peptide? Or is it the most common one right now? GLP-1s, right? Should you prescribe GLP-1s for weight loss? Well, if you are on hemoglobin A1C of 12 and you're morbidly obese, maybe GLP-1 is the beginning to get you on that journey so you see a little bit of success and you start to get your confidence back, right? But is it sustainable in the long term? No way known from a muscle and from a bone health perspective. But is it a good thing to maybe get started? Yes. So again, we can't be saying, make definite statements. I go back to the integrity. Why are you doing it? Are you doing it for the right reasons? And are you doing it with integrity based on scientific evidence? Or are you just in it for a quick buck to make money and then run? flip your organization, flip your thing, sell it on to Amazon or somebody, right? And so it does take patience, but I've seen plenty of people who were patient rewarded. Mind you, going into the health system to get a gazillionaire, you got to cheat. It's just the way, that's the way of the world. We're not in a position that people will buy what you have purely based on your integrity and your goodness. And you are being able to make, millions and millions and millions. If you do, you're a unicorn. Most people do this because their lives, we talk about wellness. It's also wellness for us. We as service providers, we as health professionals, we want to be well. And if we walk the talk ourselves and then we see our patients adopting some of their stuff and getting their health back, and then their families get their health back, and then you see the gratitude and the joy and the difference you make, to me, I'd rather die knowing I made a difference in somebody else's life than that I have $1 million in my bank account. And so, again, that's personal. So don't take my advice. It's just, again, it's
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And one of the good things about the wellness approach in terms of turning our individual journeys, wellness journeys, and turning them into service for others through business, I think it gives a transdisciplinary approach to wellness. Like we've seen architects, real estate developers, teachers, whatever, and they say, I had someone sick in my family or whatever. I was sick myself. I learned this, and now I'm making a business out of it. And I think that's a great thing. How and yeah, and at the same time, it's the way it should be always. Like wellness was in a sense sequestered by a few um, um, groups of individuals. Either I won't get into that, but now wellness is returning to whatever you do, whatever your walk of life, whatever you study, whatever your work. You have a place in the wellness arena, and that's a good thing, I guess.
well, and absolutely, because when you say wellness, what actually happened was health was kind of sequestered. The only people who can confidently talk about health are health professionals. I went to university, I studied this, but again, it has been a misnomer all the way through. And we know from research that happened many years ago. Remember the time, I maybe do, when physicians would advertise smoking? Because that was the thing to do. When you look at surveys on health surveys in professional brackets, the healthcare professionals are usually part of the worst, the people with the worst health, because people don't practice what they preach, right? You have the physician who tells you to smoke and to stop smoking and move more, but you can smell the nicotine on their clothes and their belly is protruding. So why in God's green earth would I take advice from someone who doesn't walk the talk? And that's the beauty. So I have no medical background, I have no academic background, but I can live out my passion with the skill set I bring to the table. But then I work with I work with physicians, I work with educators, I work with psychometric experts to pull this all together. And I think that's the beauty of the space right now, is there is a greater willingness to look after your own health, after planetary health, after animal health, after just the whole holistic approach to health, after our mental health, our spiritual health. All of that is currently at the forefront. And now it's just a matter of pulling the various experts together into something that I would want. And if I would want it, chances are other people want it too. But again, that's a different approach to what will make me the most money. And that's what I'm going to put my efforts into.
Thank you. Um, we have a few people here in the room, so in a couple of minutes, I'll open the mics. If anyone wants to ask a question, please feel free to do so. Um, and before we do that, let me ask you about in this podcast. There's a lot of people who are health and wellness entrepreneurs. They are like people who are trying to grow businesses in the wellness arena, health arena, and it's not always easy because of all the things that we've laid out in this conversation. But I see you as a person who takes very well care about of yourself in terms of your own health and your own stamina, and at the same time that plays into being a better professional in the work you're doing. Um, Not to put words in your mouth, but what advice would you give health and wellness entrepreneurs or people who are in the health arena who are beginning to think about themselves in their identity as entrepreneurs and building something more resembling like a business and not just changing their time for their skills, and to do something that can scale and that can not only get to more people but also take care of oneself at the same time, because as you have laid out, we shouldn't be doing a trade-off.
Well, and I think it all starts there, right? You start with yourself. Now, of course, if you like social media, or as I call it, anti-social media, right? Have at it. Like make yourself known in the public market space. Put yourself forward as the expert, but again, not the snake oil expert or the voodoo expert, but the true health expert. The other thing that is really important is collaborations. Nobody can build the village on their own, right? So again, in my life, I collaborate with you, Victor. We collaborate with people like Victor in 40 other countries around the world. We collaborate with medical associations. We collaborate with manufacturers. We collaborate with universities. We collaborate with people who are like-minded. And the key is like-minded. Again, I take great diligence in trying to work out, is somebody a missionary or if somebody a mercenary? The mercenaries go by. The missionaries, do they actually have the skill set that is required to build capability? Because again, you have a lot of well-meaning amateurs. I always make the joke, like I'm sure you have something like Mexican Idol or The Voice in Mexico, right? All those people who say, my mommy told me I'm a good singer. And then they get so disappointed that the judges say, well, just because you think you're a good singer, for us who have to listen to it, it's horrible, right? So you really want to make sure that the people have the skill set and the desire to build whatever it is that you want to build. Buy into your vision, or maybe you buy into their vision. Sometimes you can piggyback off somebody else's and just provide what they're lacking, and you grow as the louse on the elephant, right? Or you, over time, you have all these people who contribute to you. And as long as you live and let live, rather than trying to hug all the glory and all the success yourself, again, I think you have a right over time to expect good things to happen. But you got to be deliberate. You got to be very discerning. And just because somebody is nice doesn't mean you have to work with them. They have to be nice. They have to be philosophically aligned, and they have to have capability, right? Because otherwise you just waste yourself, you waste a lot of time, and all you get is frustrated, right? And obviously everything is 2 steps forward, 1 step back. That's life, right?
That's
So
right. That's
you want
health.
overnight success, this is not the place to be.
Yeah, I love it. I would love to get a piece of advice from you before I open up for questions.
Yep.
One of I've been teaching for the past years about wellness, systemic thinking, lifestyle, how to transform the paradigms in health, and now I transformed it into it's called the Wellness Business Lab. Is a platform for wellness entrepreneurs to build their products and services through a holistic wellness lens. And it's like an online community where we share some classes, but also a lot of workshops on how to really design our products and services and companies through these principles. And you know me probably for 6 years now. What advice would you give me as the founder of this business that can help me grow in the next 5 years in this specific business?
I think it would be remiss of you to give you advice because I would have to understand, obviously, the business model much, much more in depth than I do, right? I obviously understand what you tell me, but in order to give good business advice, you need to understand what the heck you're talking about, right? Because otherwise you just have platitudes and nobody wants to hear platitudes, right? I mean, it's even now that we're talking, I know that you've heard a lot of that thing before, right? So again, do you really get tangible, I can go and implement this right here, right now? Of course not, because we're talking generically rather than specifically. And so specific advice I cannot possibly give you. But the generic advice is again, you know which bits are working, you know which bits you're struggling. And then the question is always, do I need the bits that I'm struggling with? Are they holding me back? Are they a mission critical? So I need to find a way to fix them, right? And you just keep on moving forward, right?
Yeah.
Because there is people coming out of the woodwork sometimes where you think, my goodness, I never thought of this. Where the heck did that come from? Right?
Yeah.
Because again, they get attracted by the integrity and the ethics of what you're trying to achieve. Right. And so in my books, radar's out, right? And you will know what the right thing to do
Yeah.
is. But again, it would be remiss of me to give you concrete advice.
It's a pretty good advice. It's actually similar to advice that I we try to talk about inside the lab. And at the end of the day, it's a lot of as you say, two steps forward, one step back. That's the game. It's not that you are less than others. It's not that you don't have the capabilities. Just this is the way the system and life works, I guess. So thank you for
Yeah.
that.
And again, not all of your eggs in one basket initially. Now I can sustain my income through what I do. But when I started, I did this voluntarily. I had an income paying job and I did this on the side. And then I went part time and I started to generate some revenue here. And so you build capability because if your family and your life depends on the revenue you generate from what you're trying to build for the long term, chances are you make some really poor decisions because of the commercial imperative rather than of what is the right thing to do, right? And so if you do not depend on the revenue you generate, you have more bandwidth, you have more runway to get things right before you crawl, walk, run, fly, right? That's kind of the sequence.
Crawl, walk, run,
Run,
fly.
fly.
Love it. And then crawl again.
Yeah, sometimes you fall on your face. Just get back up. That's
I
the way
love
it
it.
goes, right?
I love it. Well, friends, we have a few minutes more with Stefan. If you want to ask a question or just add a comment, please feel free to take advantage of this space. Georgette, please.
Hi, hello.
Hey,
Uh,
Georgette.
yes, I want to make a comment. I live in Mexico City and I see the wellness industry very close because I am a sick patient of arthritis rheumatoid. So I've been trying to get well with other products, supplements, all that stuff. And now it is becoming like a luxury stuff. You know, it is cheaper now to go to a regular doctor than to go to a specialist that will recommend some magnesium and some copper because it's getting really, really expensive. And my question is, why, if the wellness industry is supposed to help you, where is the intention to help if they are profiting like 1,000 much more money? Like it is
Yep.
really a luxury now to
And,
get to a
and look,
person that knows how to guide you through a natural way to get healed. It is absolutely crazy. I don't understand. I would
so
like to hear your opinions.
So right now, Georgette, it's probably still early days in Mexico. When you look at the progression of the movement between the US and Mexico, and this is not a disrespectful comment, it's just the way it goes. Mexico is probably 10 years, 15 years behind in terms of development. So when you go in the US, if you have rheumatoid arthritis and you want to get treated by a lifestyle medicine physician, you go, you put you go into the search engine and you get an option of 10, 15 people. You also can go online in English and get a lot of good advice, not necessarily AI generated, on what you can do in terms of your rheumatoid arthritis to give you relief, or this is what helped other people in your situation. Ultimately, there is a trend towards what we call precision medicine because we find, and you've heard of the Pareto principle, right? The 80-20 rule. 80% of what we prescribe fits everyone. But then the 20% becomes terribly individual, where you might have, and for me that works, for somebody else that doesn't. That supplement, I can, the bioavailability for me is there, but for my wife, it just becomes expensive urine, right? So please stay the course, right? There is plenty of people in your situation who have found at least a reduction in the symptoms, a betterment of the condition when it comes to rheumatoid arthritis through natural means that don't send you back. The key is again to discern between the ones who just want your money and give you expensive. Are you familiar with the Superman movies? I always make the joke that these people prescribe you kryptonite because we did an expensive lipid panel and we figured out that you're deficient in kryptonite. So here is this $400 bottle of kryptonite for you because, but it doesn't do anything, right? It doesn't give you Superman power. So again, sorting the good from the bad right now is obviously a challenge for you, and I sympathize with you. Continue to work with Victor and with the people who are getting certified in lifestyle medicine, and Mexico will get to the place where you have a reasonable cost service that actually makes a difference. One last comment. We just started with women's health in lifestyle medicine because what you suffer from is obviously, my wife is in the same position, like we talk women, menopause, getting older. That's all part of what happens to most women in their lives. And so we're actually addressing this through competencies and then education in women's health in lifestyle medicine. So better care can be given. But we're not there yet. We're on the way.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Georgette.
Thank you.
We have time for one more question or comment, if anyone wants to raise their hands. Yes, Jose Aguilar, Beto, welcome.
We can't, yeah, okay, yeah, now we're good.
Yeah. Hello, thank you,
Hey,
Stefan,
Jose.
for your talk. And thank you, Vic. If I understood right, you said that you kind of hack the way of implementing lifestyle medicine into health practitioners by certifying them. And it kind of also work as a business. How would you transport this into into normal people? Because maybe in the US people know about lifestyle medicine, but here when I say to people I'm going to give you a lifestyle medicine treatment, they have asked me like, is that like shamanism or something like that? So how will you hack the system for not health professionals so they can belong or join the movement to have a great lifestyle?
Yeah. So again, and I the answer I'm going to give you is not going to make you happy. We restricted lifestyle medicine certification to health professionals only because we realized that if we would open it up, so I'm not certified in lifestyle medicine because I don't qualify. That doesn't mean I can't get educated. I can't apply it to my own life, but I get to travel the world, but I never talk about medical things because I don't have the credibility, right? So I don't want to stand in front of a bunch of physicians telling them about the science of lifestyle medicine without being a physician myself, because even though I speak the truth, to them, all they can hear is there is this layman trying to tell me what's what. When it comes to individuals, individuals have been conditioned to listen to their physician. They'd much rather listen to the physician than to the person who wants to sell them a product or a service. So in your case, you want to align yourself with a friendly physician, healthcare practitioner who can endorse what you do so you can conduct your business. Exactly what I do. I work with physicians, with people who are high up in the food chain of the American Medical Association, with physicians who are high up in obstetrics and gynecology and all of those things, who are opinion leaders in their own field. And I align myself with them so that when we're doing things together. So their credibility reflects positively on me, and my credibility reflects positively on them. It's like we align ourselves with universities. So when a lifestyle medicine society starts, if they're aligned with a medical school, that gives them instant credibility. If they're not, then people ask, who the heck are you? So I can't give you a concrete answer, Jose. It's a matter of what is it that you do and who in what you do has got credibility at the science and at the integrity level. And those are the people you want to associate yourself with, because they will endorse what you're doing and their credibility reflects positively on you. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, so to leverage with the right missionaries.
Yeah, you leverage with the right people. Absolutely. Yeah. Couldn't have said it better myself.
There's your
Thank you very much.
catchphrase. Thank you, Beto. So before we close for today, I want to invite everyone to take a look at the website I'm posting here on the chat. It's about the Wellness Business Lab. We will be opening a new cohort in November this year. So I invite all of you to join. It's a place for health and wellness entrepreneurs who are growing their business and they want to really be a missionary in wellness, as we have described today. And yeah, I would love to be in touch with you and through this program and through all the things that we do at the Wellness Business Lab. The link is on the chat. And my friend Stefan, one last question for you, which is very existential, and you know it keeps me up at 3 a.m. I still don't understand how you can answer emails that fast. I just hit send and I have your reply on my inbox.
I have nothing to do, and I'm Swiss. So in Switzerland, they said you have to answer your emails within hours, not within days or weeks, right? So there you go. Oh, by the way, for anybody interested in football, in soccer, right? Obviously, Argentina turned a 2-0 deficit into a 3-2 win. Go figure.
Oh,
And commiserations to anyone who watched Mexico not quite make it against the Brits. So it is what it is. Go Switzerland in an hour. Thank you for your support.
Thank you. Thank you. Good luck later today. Stefan, thank you for this great conversation, for your
Thank you for
mentorship
having
throughout
me.
all these years. And we'll be growing this friendship and in the collaboration. Thank you so much for your
Be
time.
well. God bless. Thank you all.
Good luck with the game. Thank you all for joining us today. I re-invite you to the Wellness Business Lab. Empezaremos en noviembre de este año con un nuevo grupo y les invito a conocer más información. Estoy a sus órdenes y pues muchas gracias por haberse sumado a esta conversación. Un privilegio estar con ustedes. Espero les haya sido de valor y estamos en contacto y yo a sus órdenes.
Gracias, Víctor. Bye.
Gracias, Margarita. Gracias, Beto, Georgette, Alberto, María José, Adán. Gracias por estar aquí, Patricia, dos
Gracias.
Patricias.
Gracias, Víctor.
Gracias, Mónica. Clio, muchas gracias. Les deseo un feliz día. Y bueno, sí nos perdimos el partido de Argentina. Creo que, no sé si algunos los tenían ahí en la pantalla, pero parece que mientras grabábamos metieron 3 goles en 10 minutos y le voltearon el partido a Egipto en los últimos 15 minutos del juego. Pero bueno, nos vemos la próxima. Muchas gracias. Y tendremos una Wellness Talk el próximo jueves a las 11. Para quien le interese, es con Tiago Forte, va a estar muy buena. Les invito a registrarse, aquí les dejamos la liga en el chat. Y pues nada, muchas gracias por estar aquí. Feliz día.